And we welcome you to the latest edition of Field of Hockey with Hatfield as we speak to you from the Plex in Virginia Beach. As always, like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel to everything we've got for you with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex and the great folks from Hometown Sports Productions as we give you all kinds of sports coverage, various field of hockey, soccer, football, lacrosse, action from the Plex and the Regional Training Center in Virginia Beach. Plus, we give you podcasts each and every week. Every couple of days, you get a field hockey podcast with us, usually on Tuesdays. Football podcast with us on Thursdays as we take you through the state championship games in December. And then 757 Saturday Sports Talk with yours truly, Matt Hatfield, and the coach, Ed Young, coming your way each and every Saturday from the Plex, usually from about 10 a.m. to 11:30 or 12 noon, but we'll be doing it again early this coming week so I can get out to a football game at Todd Stadium in Newport News. It's a great time of year because you have all the sports, be it professionally, collegiately, high school, mingling in at once. You've got these playoffs starting up for field hockey and volleyball. The football playoffs are about to start. The professional level, the NBA and NHL are starting up. We've got football and college football going, college basketball about to start. Major League Baseball, I'm a huge Diamondbacks fan for those of you that don't know, so I'm excited and geeked for game number 7 tonight in Philadelphia against the Phillies. Keeping my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, everything, hoping for a World Series trip for the first time in 22 years for that franchise as the Texas Rangers won in Game 7 yesterday against the Houston Astros. But we're here to talk field hockey with you all on this particular Tuesday in October, a week before Halloween, where it gets all spooky with so many different tricks and treats. On the show today, we've got a special guest, Darcey Chiappazzi. She's the head coach of the Poquoson Islanders. That'll be coming your way a little bit later on. Her team off to I think it's 12-3, 12-4 record so far. A really good season. They just got a big win over Grassfield the other day, and they've got a number of underclassmen on their team contributing in a big way. And we're also going to be catching up with Taylor Rountree. We spoke with her after her team's win last week that we brought you over the Kellum Knights at the training center. So we'll get her thoughts on the squad that's not going into the Region 5A tournament as the number 1 seed. But if you know how good Cox has been for years, going back to when her coach was the coach, the legendary living legend, Nancy Folks, and then you had Julie Swin and now Taylor Rountree, they're never really an underdog or thought about as being a team on the outside looking in. They're going to be in the hunt here. A couple of tough losses to some quality teams out of state. Fell to Norfolk Academy, battled hard against First Colonial, and it was a scoreless draw through regulation and a couple of overtime periods before the rival Patriots got them, and they're going in hot as the number 1 seed in the tournament. We spoke a couple weeks ago with Megan Smart, the coach there, as well as Grace Dixon, one of their standout players who is headed to The Ohio State University. And our recent Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week from last week was a player from FC, and none other than Parker Roll, the goalkeeper for the Patriots, who is a Georgetown pledge. Who's going to get it this week? Well, that's going to come up in our third segment of the show, as well as our final top 10 edition. And it'll be brought to you by the Drip Bar today. We'll tell you more about the Drip Bar as we move it along here on this edition of Field Hockey with Hatfield. Again, we're streaming for you on our Virginia Beach Regional Training Center and Sportsplex Facebook page, our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to that. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications when we go live with all kinds of various events and action that is taking place across the 757 landscape that we bring you. And you'll get all kinds of access to the playlists we have for our podcast and archive broadcasts and all kinds of neat things that you can check out and peruse. But we mentioned the Cox Falcons. They've been prominently ranked not just in our top 10, but in the state rankings, in the national rankings, and Coach Taylor Rountree at the helm of that program. And we were able to catch up with her for a couple of minutes after the win over Kellum, a Beach District rival, to get her thoughts on this team. And so we now will give that a listen here with Field Hockey with Hatfield from the Plex. All right, I'm here with Cox Field Hockey coach Taylor Rountree. Our team gets a 6-0 shutout of the Kellum Knights here at the Regional Training Center as they close out the regular season. Coach, it's hard to believe the season's just flown by like this and the playoffs are here. Got to be pleased with how your team has performed here in this matchup against a good team, and you've played a really tough schedule all year long.
Yeah, Kellum's they're a great team. It was nice to be here on AstroTurf. If we're not here, we're practicing at grass at home, so this is definitely to our advantage.
Tell you what, just the fundamentals and the skill work shine through in this matchup. In particular, the 2-3 combination. We're in 2 and 3. Sophia Birch and Megan Spear. I know Megan's headed to Dartmouth. Just really savvy players, and they're starting to click here as the playoffs are about to start.
Yeah, they have been starters since they were freshmen, so they were with the older girls. They've kind of been through the system, and unfortunately this year we had to drop into the backfield, but it's really nice to see them.
I've seen some games where your team gets a bunch of penalty corners, goals, you execute well, but I think today it was like 14 or 15 penalty corners. What's the key to drawing so many of those in your eyes?
If you're not going to get a shot off on the circle, you better get a corner. So that's kind of our philosophy.
So it's just a matter of just playing intensity, speed, and being on point, or what is it about getting those?
It's definitely the intensity, and we knew coming in that most of our attack was going to have to come off of corners, and it's the only way to bring Megan up. So
we spoke last month with Isabel Pardo, the Liberty commit, your goalkeeper. I mean, just her work this year. I know you lost last week the first Colonial, but it wasn't her fault. I mean, you go regulation, didn't give up a goal. She's been great all year long. Talk about what she's brought your team.
Isabel's just a breath of fresh air back there. She's from Spain, so like last year she was new. Just her English has gotten so much better. I mean, she's a phenomenal player.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like last week you got to see. I mean, she could run a clinic out there.
Yeah. That helps when you have someone that's the Jets flying over top of us that can really definitely take a game ownership like that, where it feels like, what was that like, Coach? Because you played obviously as we watched the Jet fly over us and nobody could ever say it. You played that tough game with Northern Academy. You played up in the Maxfield hockey event up in PA. You had that game with FC. How did the girls kind of recover from that? Because it looked like you've been sharp these last two games with Kempsville and Kellum here.
When we went up to Maxfield hockey, and thankfully we got out when we did. We had played 7 games in 10 days. So, I mean, it's just a lot. Northern Academy was at the end of it. And I think from there, it showed that they could hang with the best of the best. Again, I'm really happy in the direction we're moving. I mean, we're just building.
Hey, lastly here, you've won 5 consecutive state championships. The school has 24, which is a VHSL record. You played for the great Nancy Falcons, and I think looking it up, you've been in like 25 of the last 34 state championships. Is it pretty much that's the expectation as the playoff start? Doesn't matter about if we see FC again, whoever we play, we know what the standard is at Cox, and how do you go about achieving that again this year?
There's definitely a standard at Cox. However, each team's different, and really we're just taking one game at a time. I mean, tradition is very, very rich. Thankfully, all these girls have been in championships position before, but it's just about mindset, and we'll see. I mean, we got with their new region, we've got great competition.
Yeah, this new region's a bear now. I mean, you've got, I know Great Bridge is struggling a little bit, but you got them, Kellum, Kempsville's no slouch. You know about FC. It feels like the 5 and 6 seeds could go win another region out there in the state.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, in all sports.
Yeah, a lot of sports for sure. Well, all the best to you and the Falcons, and we'll watch the journey to hopefully another state championship.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So that was Taylor Rountree, so kind enough to give us a few minutes after her team's win over Kellum, a shutout for them, as Isabel Pardo was really good in keep. And we touched on, obviously, Megan Spear, Dartmouth commit, Sophia Birch being very vital to their success, and a little bit of a movement in terms of the positioning for them. And you look at the tournament, I don't have the entire pairings for 5A. We have some that will be scrolling across your screen on the ticker here as we move it along here on this edition of Field Hockey with Hatfield from the Plex today. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Comment with us. Give us any feedback, input you've got. Any thoughts you got, predictions. Who's going to win Region 5A and win the Class 5 state championship? Do you think it's going to be Cox? Do you think it's going to be First Colonial? Do you think it's going to be somebody else? Let us know. What I have in front of me, though, is that they will be starting the tournament, the regional quarterfinals for 5A on Wednesday, October 25th. The 1-8-4-5 matchups are at Green Run. We believe, although I might have it backwards as far as one being a 2, one being a 7, I think Prentice Ann's the 3, Kellum's the 6, the 2-7 matchup. They could be PA2, Kellum 7. Nonetheless, those games are at Bayside High School, and I think Cox is probably matching up with Bayside there. I think Kempsville's getting Great Bridge in the 4-5 game. FC's the 1. Regardless, then they move on to semifinals at Green Run, 3 and 5 o'clock coming up on Friday the 27th, and then your championship set for October 31st, Halloween night, a week from tonight, 5 o'clock over at GRHS over there at Green Run High School. So I'm sure that'll be a fun night there, and we could probably see a Cox FC rematch. I think that's what people expect, but I would not rule out Don Warner's Princess Anne team. Great Bridge, though they had a couple of stumbles. They've won a few state championships. Amber Jones, who we spoke with last week from Kempsville, her team's had a couple of solid wins here as of late. So there's a lot of teams that can make some noise in a very good tournament, and you can take those teams, like we said, in that region, and they could go compete in other regions around the state without a doubt and be, right there in the mix as far as state tournament bound and even have a chance to win the championship. As far as Region 6A goes, I know Oscar Smith is supposed to be at Grassfield coming up this week in the tournament, Thomas Dale at Western Branch. 4A, I've got Phoebus at Jamestown as one of the matchups. Region 3A, which gets underway coming up with Colonial Heights, the 9 seed, at Lafayette, the 8 seed. You do have a bye for the top teams as far as the next round over. Tab is the 1 seed. The 2 seed is Poquoson, and we'll be talking with Darcey Chiappazzi coming up from the Islanders to get her thoughts on that team, which won a state championship just a few years ago. I've had a lot of players go on to the next level. We'll highlight that and much more as we take a time out here with Field Hockey with Hatfield. We'll hear from the coach of Poquoson coming up next. But right now, we're going to take a time out and hear from some of the sponsors that make it possible for us to do this with you on a regular basis online. And one of those sponsors would be none other than Chicho's Pizza.
And 50 years of innovation, AstroTurf still leads the way. The inventor of artificial turf does it all, right here in the USA. We engineer, test, manufacture, and install the world's most innovative fibers and turf technologies, with over 30,000 tracks and fields worldwide. AstroTurf, powered by Sport Group.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall.
Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
What's that?
I said, looking forward to the season.
For sure. And the tournament coming up for your squad here, and we'll get into that, who you got on deck here as the regionals are getting ready to start across the state. But let's dig into your background a little bit. For folks that don't know, you've had quite a bit of success there at Poquoson, a team that's made championship runs before. Fill the audience in on how you got involved with field hockey, what year this is for you at Poquoson, and how much you enjoy it.
Well, I started playing field hockey back when I was in elementary school. I had two older sisters, and they were getting involved in field hockey and going to camps and clinics. And at the time, I was too young to stay at home by myself, but I was old enough to go and attend the clinics. So my mom and dad were like, well, if your sisters are going, you're going. And so I started, playing field hockey back in late elementary school and then through middle school. And then I went to Minstrel High School, and they didn't have middle school sports then. So 8th graders could play JV. So I played JV field hockey for Minstrel as an 8th grader. And then in 9th through 12th grade, I played on the varsity team. After that, I went to Christopher Newport University, and they did not have a collegiate field hockey program then. So my first year out of high school, I gave it a shot at refereeing, and I quickly learned that refereeing was not for me. So my next year, my second year out of high school, there was a coaching position that opened up at Minchville High School. So I was the JV coach at Minchville High School for 9 years under Coach Melanie Haas, who was my high school coach. My senior year in college, a friend of mine, Tara Worley, and I started a club team at Christopher Newport. And then the next year is when they went and had a collegiate team. So I've been coaching ever since. This is my 27th year of coaching field hockey. I coached JV at Minchville High School. I coached 2 years at Denby High School as their varsity head coach. And I was 1 year as the assistant coach at Christopher Newport under Sue Mancha, who was from Salisbury, Maryland. And then I found out I was expecting my third child. So I decided to take some time off from coaching field hockey. I took 4 years off from coaching. And then I started back coaching in Poquoson as the JV coach in Poquoson from 2007 to 2011. And then I took over as the head coach. And this is my 12th season as the head coach of Poquoson Islanders.
That's awesome. And just a couple of years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, won the state championship. Was it overtime in 2020 against Tab, the Bay Rivers rival? So you got a great rivalry over there. And I think that was your state championship, correct?
Yes, sir. It was the first and only state champion so far in the history of Poquoson field hockey.
And a name you brought up there, I have to reference Tara Worley. She's regarded as one of the best to do it as far as the sport goes over at Lakeland when she was coaching. And I know you mentioned a great friend of yours. How much of an influence has she had on in what you all do as far as field hockey goes? And I imagine she's a good sounding board for you.
Yes, she is. They moved over from the Suffolk area to Poquoson when her daughter Regan Worley was going into the 9th grade. So Regan was a great addition to our program, very knowledgeable of the sport, just like her mother, and definitely brought a little competitive edge to our program.
That's awesome. Well, we look at this current team for you now. I know a name that I keep seeing come across the reports as far as getting goals and making things happen for you is Elizabeth Trant. Tell me about her a little bit and some others that have been key contributors to your team's success thus far. And I know she's going to be a good one up for probably all region and all state accolades potentially.
Yes, absolutely. Elizabeth Trant is just delightful. Nicest, sweetest little girl that you could ever meet.
I think we lost Coach Chiappazzi here for a second. We'll see if we can reconnect with her as she was talking about just the delightful, wonderful young lady that Elizabeth Trant is for her over at Poquoson. It is field hockey with Hatfield. So we'll try to recalibrate and get this restarted here with Coach Chiappazzi in just a moment here on field hockey with Hatfield. So hang tight here just a second. All right, we have Coach Chiappazzi back with us. Sorry about that. You were talking about just the delightful young lady that Elizabeth Trant is for you. Continue if you can.
Yes, she is just as sweet as she can be on and off the field. However, in a competition, she definitely is a ball of energy on the field, almost like a little Spitfire out there. She can get herself into some tough situations, difficult situations, but maneuvers her way out. She is a great distributor of the ball. She's a great carrier of the ball. She is an amazing voice on the field to my teammates, or her teammates, I should say, leading them in the direction of where she wants them to go, getting them in position for her to send the ball to them. She is a great competitor. She's very knowledgeable and super, super easy to coach.
That's terrific. Go ahead about some other players besides Elizabeth, if you can, Coach.
Well, I was going to say, one of the nice things about Elizabeth is she's just in 10th grade. So I get to have her for a couple more years. Behind her, I have Grace Oates. Grace Oates is a junior, and she is another delightful young lady, very easy to coach, an easy teammate to have. Grace is a very good voice on our field. She directs our midfield. She's directing, the offense on where to go, and reminding them, make sure you're open in the circle. We got to have movement in the circle. On self start, she's telling them to get open. And then Grace also does the same thing back on defense. She's leading her defense on where they need to be and who they need to mark, and making sure that they're aware if there's any players that are open. Behind Grace, I have my goalie, Jordan Ivy. She is a senior, and she plans to continue her academic career and field hockey career at Shenandoah University next fall. She again, a very easy coachable kid, takes it all in. She is another good voice in the back of the field. She also does a nice job of directing her defensive players on where they need to be. Those three are my key leaders.
Outstanding. And you mentioned one getting a chance to play at Shenandoah, and you got Trent for a couple more years, which will be exciting for your team here as they continue to grow. And it is a young team, coach. You're having a lot of success with a lot of youngsters. I know sophomores, juniors, that's not all senior laden, if you will. Speak
Yes.
on that, just their development. And then you play a very challenging schedule. You don't back down from some of the bigger schools in the area. It just took on Grassfield to conclude the regular season. What's that do in terms of the preparation for this playoff run that you hope to have?
Oh, I believe that you get better by playing better teams. I always look for a challenging schedule and try to make a challenging schedule, because I feel that my players rise to the occasion, and we're only going to get better and learn to be better by playing better teams. Along with that, with my team that I have this year, I have 2 seniors, I have 3 juniors, and 7 sophomores. So we are a super small team this year. That's only 12 players. And then we only have 1 sub. And so when we're small in numbers, and then you're also young in youth and skill ability, we make sure every practice is productive. The girls work hard from the minute they walk out on the field for practice to the minute they leave. We run practices sometimes where we're working in multiple different areas of the field doing stations, and we go from one skill component to another, and then we bring it all back together and put it as a whole group activity. So all the skills that we work on in one day, we can implement at the end in a whole group activity. I would say that I am pleasantly surprised and pleasantly pleased with how our team has done this year. When we started on August the 1st, I would say I had a little reservation based on our youth. My 10th graders, I would say four of them only have 1 year experience from JV last year. So you're talking about a girl that has 1 year playing experience on JV is now on varsity playing with some seniors that have already 4 years experience on JV. And I think that makes a big difference. But I also think that with the competitive schedule that we play, it has definitely helped my program and helped my girls grow and develop to step it up.
Absolutely. In our last couple minutes here with Darcey Chiappazzi, the head coach of the Poquoson Islanders. She's got a coach of the year in her background, also a state championship here. Our guest on field hockey with Hatfield. We'll have our top 10 coming up, probably our last one before the playoffs get started here, coach. And you've got to start the regionals. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at the schedule. Looks like New Kent coming up for your first matchup on Thursday. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We host at Poquoson. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you get a chance to host, and you could run into very potentially the rival in Tab in the postseason. One of your only 3 losses this year, so you could see them in a rematch. You've got Nansman over in First Colonial, who are 2 very good teams that have been in our top 10 all year long. Your team also in the top 10 along with Tab there. As you look at what's going to be the key here to this tournament coming up. What do you tell this group of 7 sophomores and youngsters that have sort of grown up here as this year's gone along, and you feel like you're maybe playing your best at the right time of the year? And you took 2 losses back to back, but you got that big win over Grassfield to maybe springboard you here in the postseason.
I think my team has matured nicely over this season with their skills and their development in field hockey. Um, like I told them yesterday in practice, we're going to take this one day at a time. We're going to take it one game at a time, and we're just going to go from there.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. Before we get you out of here, you mentioned being the mom. I looked into the background. I think you got a chance to coach. Was it your daughters? And also your son went on to wrestle in college. Give us a little bit of the background there of the youngsters, and also any players that maybe you haven't touched on yet that have come through your program that are playing at the collegiate level, and those that you'd like to shout out if you could.
Yes, yes, I have 2 daughters that both played for me. I coached them in their club, and then, well, I coached them at youth when they started playing Newport News Parks and Rec Summer League, and then coached them in club field hockey, and then for Poquoson High School field hockey. They both went on to play at the collegiate level. My oldest daughter did 4 years at Lynchburg University, and then my middle daughter, she did 1 semester or played 1 year at Shenandoah, and then she transferred to Lynchburg University for her last 3 years. My son is currently a sophomore at West Virginia University, and he was a wrestler in Poquoson, and he has continued his academics at West Virginia University along with his athletics on the wrestling team. As far as some of my other players that have played collegiate field hockey, I don't have any of this written down, so I'm just shooting from the top. I've had Leslie Spate and Emily Duell play at Iowa University. I've had Corinne Jasinski play at it was Lynchburg College then. Evan Bunting and Jordan Stolmacher have played at Virginia Wesleyan. Emma Barefoot and Emily Swartzball are at Shenandoah University. Her twin sister, Haley Swartzball, is at Randolph-Macon. Galen Goodman played at Bridgewater. Kelly Jasinski and Emily Deeds played at Roanoke College. Haley Inkster played up in Maine. I can't remember the name of the school that she went to. She went for marine biology up in Maine. Maddie Baker played at Shenandoah University. So I've had a good amount of players that have gone on to play at the collegiate level. I've had some that have just played club field hockey. Caitlin Kaysen played club field hockey at Virginia Tech. Mackenzie Miller played club field hockey at UVA. And Libby Harper, who was one of our standout players from last year, she is playing club field hockey at James Madison this year.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time today. We wish you and your program all the best in the postseason coming up.
Yes,
And
thank you so much.
say hello to my good buddy Mike Whittington over there, the new athletic director. He's a
Oh,
good
I
friend,
sure
and I know
will.
he's very proud of what you and the ladies are doing over there at Poquoson. And we'll talk again soon, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for the Islanders to make a state playoff run.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You got it. That's Coach Darcey Chiappazzi, our guest here with Field Hockey with Hatfield. We'll take a timeout, come back with our Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week, the top 10, and put the finishing touches on this edition as the playoffs are upon us here. Now we'll hear from some of our sponsors at the Plex.
Treat yourself to a visit to the Drip Bar IV Hydration and Vitamin Therapy in Virginia Beach. Boost your immunity, increase your energy, and promote anti-aging with our personalized treatments designed to ensure efficient nutrition absorption to rejuvenate your mind and body. Come see our chic and relaxing day spa for yourself today. We welcome walk-ins and appointments. Our medical professionals will help you achieve your best health and answer all your questions. The Drip Bar at Lansdowne Commons in Virginia Beach.
At CHKD, sports medicine is more than just treating injuries.
Cameron Butler from Kempsville High School, the Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week. Well deserved for her. And if you haven't been to Il Giardino, oh, you're missing out because they offer veal, seafood, chicken, pasta, vegetarian, and pizza creations that are all taste sensations. Oh, it's the best Italian food in town. And they've got sauces, all of them, made from scratch. Every item is made to order. Throw in the lively sounds from the expanded piano bar and lounge, and it's no wonder why Il Giardino is such a popular local spot. Go pay them a visit at 910 Atlantic Avenue in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And to see the complete menu and find out more, including the hours of operation, log on to ilgiardino.com. That's ilgiardino.com. Plus, give them a call at 757-422-6464. That's 757-422-6464. The latest Il Giardino Chicken Parm Player of the Week going to Kempsville standout Cameron Butler. Well deserved for her. All right, where are we headed to next before we end this latest edition of Field Hockey with Hatfield from the Plex? The playoffs are coming up, and we've got some matchups to show you that have been set. More are going to be coming out as far as the playoffs go. But it's time now for the latest top 10, as we said, brought to you by the Drip Bar this week. And at the top, there's no real change. It remains the number one team in town. That's the number one team now in the country again, according to none other than Max Preps. We're talking about Norfolk Academy, Mary Werkheiser's team. They just remain a machine over there at NA. 4 goals every time out. Think about that. No fewer than 4 goals in every one of their 16 wins this year. That's just unheard of. Just remarkable what they have done this season. And you just simply cannot overlook this accomplishment for them being number one in the nation and on their way, I think, to a state championship. They had their tests in area with Cox, first Colonial, played Collegiate, who beat them last year, went out of state, won some tough games there. They're the real deal. And I believe the shutout count is now at 9 for them. And the list of stars from Purdy and Betancourt to Adams, Clarkson and Gold. The list just goes on and on. Dominant and dynamic. They're number one. Well-deserved. No surprise. Number 2, it's First Colonial. 13-1 for the Patriots. They head into regionals with 12 straight victories. And of their 6 straight shutouts to conclude the regular season, 2 of them have come against top 10 teams in Cox and Poquoson. Parker Roll, the keeper, is really playing at a terrific high level, and they'll be hard to beat in the tournament as the top seed. I expect them to be playing next Tuesday in the region championship at Green Run High School, probably against Cox, could be against Princess Anne, but I'm going to say it's them and Cox, and I think we could see them and Cox square off again in the state playoffs, probably the semifinal or final round, as we'll see how that Class 5 tournament shakes out come next week as we get ready to turn the calendar from October to November, and it's championship time for field hockey in November, championship time for football in December, and then we get pretty much into winter sports. Number 3, it's the Cox Falcons, 10-3-1. You heard from Tedder Rountree earlier in the show in our playback from their win over Kellum, 6-0. They were strong to close out the year, and it's hard to imagine when you've done as much winning as Cox that they enter the playoffs with less pressure or attention on them. But because of Norfolk Academy being number 1 in the nation and FC winning the last encounter, the Falcons can go about their business almost in a workmanlike way and slide back into the state tournament in a little bit of a quiet way. On their way to capturing some more hardware. So I could see that happening for them very, very easily. Next up on the top 10 countdown, Tab Tigers. They're number 4, 74-2 goals margin for them. And a 2-1 win with Western Branch, 2-1 win with St. Catharines. With Western Branch and St. Catharines being the only 2 teams to score on them all year, you really have to marvel at how they've done this season. And if they win out, they will be, from my count, just 1 or 2 wins, I think 1 win shy of Cox's state record for consecutive victories. They'll have like 68 going back the last 3 seasons. So they could break that state record early next year if they finish wall-to-wall, start to finish undefeated. That's just unbelievable what Wendy Wilson and the Tigers do. And they're number 4, and I think they're still sort of unheralded to a degree. Number 5 is Gloucester, 13-2. We had Joe Dougherty on the show earlier in the year. How about a 139-8 goals margin for them? That's not too shabby. And in addition to that, you're looking at Gloucester handling Heritage 26-0, Phoebus 21-0. So whopping margins there. They're clear favorites in 4A in my eyes. And Reese Miller will probably be the standout of the upcoming Region 4A tournament. If I had to predict somebody, I've got her as the choice there. Number 6 is Nansemond River. They're 12-2-1. They followed up a big 9-0 win over Hickory, where they got multiple goals from Anaya Woods and Aubrey White with a quality triumph over Kellum. They can close out the SED crown, the Southeastern District title, by beating Suffolk rival Kings Fork, then on to the Region 5B tournament, and will likely bump into Minchville when it comes to trying to claim a regional. Number 7 is Catholic, 14-3. 2-3 wins over HRA 1-0, 2-1. Walking up, trying to overtime over Princess Anne. They're playing really fun hockey right now. Is Catholic there under Coach Lindsey Boyce. I like what I've seen from them. I think, again, much like Norfolk Academy being so dominant, and you see Cox and First Colonial and these teams in the beach, you forget about Catholic being a pretty formidable team, and they look like one right now that I think you have to pay attention to. And to round up the top 10, we got 3 more teams for you, 8, 9, and 10. 8 is Princess Anne. They had the one setback against Catholic. It's not much of a setback because they knew they were going to be a 2 or 3 seed in the Region 5A tourney. They beat Salem 8-0 before they lost that game. Sydney Regini and Sarah Ellis with 28 goals between them. Tough draw at Bayside on Wednesday night against Kellam, who they had to squeak out a close one against in the regular season. And again, we brought you at the regional training. So you can go back and watch that. It's archived for you on our playlist. If you go there to our Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, you can go check that out if you missed it and you're a fan and want to see that overtime thriller that we had a couple weeks ago with PA and Kellam. And to conclude our top 10, number 9 is Poquoson, 12-4. I thought it was 12-3, but it's actually 12-4. So we had to fix that. Unfortunately, our graphic had it wrong earlier, but that's my fault there. Big win over Grassfield, though. 7 sophomores coming of age for Coach Darcey Chiappazzi at Poquoson. And number 10, the Menchville Monarchs, 10-4 overall, 8 wins in a row. Their only losses to aforementioned Poquoson, Nansman River, Great Bridge, and Gloucester. That Great Bridge loss was 1-0 back on September 14th. Hard-fought 5-4 squeaker with Kempsville to close out the season. So to count it down again, from 10-1, 10 is Menchville, 9 is Poquoson, 8 Princess Anne, 7 Catholic, 6 Nansman River, 5-1 featuring the Gloucester Dukes, the Tab Tigers, the Cox Falcons, the First Colonial Patriots, and the Norfolk Academy Bulldogs. I think we will get multiple state champions. I can see Norfolk Academy in private school, a winner of Cox FC in 5A from the Beach District. I can see Tab in the Region 3 through 1A, and I can see Gloucester in 4A. We could have up to, in my opinion, maybe 4 state champions from Hampton Roads in field hockey, which would be a banner year for the 757. Other regions will want to argue that they've got the best of the best. 757, though, it's going to be hard to beat them when it comes to